On an ordinary day, Hib, a college student living a simple life, went out with his friend Dai. They spent a pleasant time together, joking, drinking coffee, and talking about many things. Suddenly, Dai noticed a strange app appearing on his phone. The app claimed it could predict the time and manner of a person's death. At first, Dai thought it was just a joke, so he told Hib about it. Hib replied mockingly, "Don't believe that nonsense. Try putting my picture in it." So Dai uploaded Hib's photo into the app, and a message appeared, "Processing soon." They didn't pay much attention and decided to leave and head to the train station. While they were standing at the station, a new message arrived, "Video released." They opened it immediately and were shocked. The video showed a train speeding uncontrollably before crashing into the ground, and Hib dying beneath the wreckage. Hib checked his own phone and found a similar video, but this time, the victim was Dai. Both of them felt uneasy, but tried to convince themselves it was just a trick. Then suddenly, the ground shook violently. In a single moment, the train crashed and collapsed over them. Debris covered everything, and it seemed they had both died. But Hib was still breathing. A message suddenly appeared on his phone. "Do you want to live or die?" Without hesitation, he chose to live. Moments later, he regained consciousness and found that Dai had also come back to life. Hib started searching for survivors, but was shocked to see a giant wolf standing before him inside the station. It was enormous, and he couldn't move from the shock. The beast lunged toward a girl named Nida, about to tear her apart, but her hand suddenly glowed, and a massive demon appeared, defending her and attacking the wolf. At the same time, Dai summoned his own demon, but it was very small. Hib grabbed Nida, and together with Dai, they ran away. Nida noticed a strange message on her phone, "Demon successfully summoned." The same message had appeared on Dai's phone. Terrified, Nida collapsed, but they heard more monsters approaching, so they fled outside the station. There, the shock was even greater. The entire city was nearly destroyed. A news anchor appeared on a screen, reporting that the city had suffered sudden, unexplained destruction, but the signal was abruptly cut, and the network went down. Dai tried calling his family, but couldn't reach them. Rescue teams soon arrived, but a group known as the Secret Organization prevented them from entering. Then a woman from the organization arrived, resolved the conflict, and drove the rescue teams away. She seemed deeply worried, saying they had thought they still had more time and that humanity was now in danger. Elsewhere, Hib, Dai, and Nida had moved to another location. Nida was anxious because she couldn't contact her family. Hib told her they needed to stick together and support each other until they understood what was happening. Encouraged by his words, Nida calmed down. Dai brought them some juice to help them relax, but suddenly, a strange floating creature resembling a piece of ice cream appeared, landed, and changed color. Hib immediately sensed danger, grabbed his friends, and ran. Moments later, the creature exploded. It was an unknown type of monster. Worse still, it began firing bullets everywhere, killing and injuring many civilians. Nida was horrified, but Hib told her this wasn't the time for fear. She needed to summon her demon immediately. She tried, and just as the monster launched a fiery attack, her demon appeared at the last second and took the hit for them. The monster continued firing, piercing through the demon's body. Amid the chaos, Hib received a notification from the app stating that the next person to die had been revealed. He opened it quickly and was shocked. It was Dai. Hib shouted his friend's name, but it was too late. The monster unleashed a tornado-like attack, destroying the demon. At that very moment, Dai appeared driving a car at high speed toward the monster, trying to ram and kill it. Hib tried to stop him, but Dai crashed into the monster, causing a massive explosion. Everyone believed Dai had died. Hib was devastated. Dai was his closest friend. Overcome with rage and grief, Hib suddenly began summoning his own demon. It was no ordinary summoning. The entire area shook with unnatural force. At the headquarters of the secret organization, they received reports of an unprecedented summoning. They tried to measure the demon's power, but failed. It was overwhelming and immeasurable. Hib had successfully summoned the tiger demon Bayako, a being no human had ever summoned before. Hib ordered Bayako to attack. The monster dodged and countered with wind magic and bullets, preparing a rapid explosion. But Bayako rose again, leapt into the air, and struck the monster with overwhelming force. Fueled by anger, Hib commanded Bayako to use supreme lightning magic. In an instant, the the monster was shattered into pieces. After the battle, Bayako's summoning ended, and Hib's phone indicated that Bayako had become his personal demon. Hib immediately ran to find Dai, but then heard a strange sound above. He looked up, and to his surprise, Dai was still alive. It turned out he had been saved by a fairy summoned by Nita, revealing that each person might be able to summon more than one creature. However, the secret organization had been watching everything. They quickly arrived and captured the three of them. The heroes were then taken by car through a tunnel previously constructed by the government. Hib felt troubled, wondering if the government knew something like this would happen. Why didn't they save innocent people? They soon arrived at a building called the Governorate Building. Inside, they discovered multiple underground levels. Dai and Nita were placed in a sealed room, while Hib went with the woman, Sako, to the deepest floor. When she opened the door, Hib froze in shock. He saw countless people and strange machines unlike anything he had ever seen. When he asked her about the truth of this place, she revealed that it was a secret government organization known as GIPS. She explained to him that the organization's goal was to protect the spiritual barriers that prevent monsters and demons from entering the world. Hib couldn't fully process what he was hearing. At that moment, the leader of the organization entered and told him that the demon he had summoned was one of Japan's 4 guardian symbols, meaning it was one of the 4 most powerful demons in the world. The leader introduced himself as Yamato and told Hib that he was the one who had requested his summoning, because Hib was currently the strongest demon summoner in existence. They also explained that the appearance of summoners had become possible because of the mysterious app that had appeared on phones, but they still didn't know its origin or who created it. Hib became furious and said, "If you knew all of this was going to happen, why didn't you protect the people? How could you let innocent lives be lost so easily?" Yamato replied that the monster they had faced was nothing compared to the 6 strongest monsters. He then revealed that they only had 6 days left, and each day one of the 6 Trian monsters would appear. If humanity failed to defeat them, the entire world would be reduced to ashes. The only way to defeat those monsters was to fight them with demons and creatures of equal power. Only a sword can stop another sword. Meanwhile, on the other side, scientists were analyzing the heroes' phones. They were shocked to discover that these devices were unlike any others, especially Hib's phone, which was completely different and carried immense power. They decided to stop the analysis immediately, as it had become too dangerous. Later, Hib returned to the others. They were asleep, except for Nita, who was anxious and afraid. He reassured her, telling her that everything would be fine, and that they would return home soon, though his own worry was still evident, as if he were hiding something. After that, they all left with Sako. The group asked her if she would really take them back home, and she confirmed that she would. As agreed, confused, they asked what she meant, and Hib explained that he had made a deal with the organization. He would join them in exchange for his friend's safe return. They didn't like his decision, but as soon as they stepped out of the car, they saw the massive destruction that had consumed the city. Nita collapsed in tears. Her entire family had been there. She tried to run off to search for them, but Hib stopped her and told her they should go to the shelter first, where they might find information. Nita listened and calmed down slightly. They all headed to the shelter. She said she would search upstairs for any information and left. Dai then asked Sako why they weren't helping these people. She explained that their mission was to protect people, indeed, to protect the entire world. She returned their phones and told them she had saved the organization's contact numbers on them so they could reach out when needed. Nita searched everywhere but found nothing. The others asked around, but no one had any news about her family. She eventually sat down and cried, while Hib went to get them something to drink. But as he approached a window, disaster struck. A demon shattered the glass and burst inside. People began running in all directions, while Hib stood frozen for a moment. His hesitation might seem strange, but after everything he had experienced in a single day, anyone in his place would struggle to move. Then he noticed a small child about to be attacked and immediately summoned Bayako. Outside, Sako was walking away when she noticed the explosion and quickly turned back. Meanwhile, Bayako began slaughtering the monsters one by one, then chased them into the park, but their numbers were overwhelming and kept increasing. At the same time, a phone appeared, activated with a spell that was releasing those monsters. The creatures attacked him again, but he dodged their strikes and continued fighting with Bayako. Dai watched and tried to summon his demon, but couldn't. He hadn't recovered from his previous battle. The monsters nearly overwhelmed Hib, but Bayako unleashed lightning magic and tore them apart. He climbed the building, leapt down on them, and continued attacking fiercely, but their numbers were massive. For every group defeated, another appeared. At that moment, Sako arrived and told Hib that the monsters weren't appearing from nowhere, they were coming from a specific source. She said she would destroy it, and he needed to hold them off. Hib agreed and fought with everything he had. The monsters became more aggressive, attacking from all sides, but he evaded them while Bayako protected him. Then Bayako unleashed maximum lightning magic, launching a devastating attack that wiped out a large number of them. At the same time, Sako reached the phone that was summoning the monsters and destroyed it immediately, stopping their appearance. The people had witnessed everything and were initially afraid of Hib, but the small child he saved approached him and said, "Thank you." At that moment, the crowd realized that Hib wasn't dangerous. He had been trying to protect them. Afterward, Hib returned to the organization's headquarters and met Yamato. He told him he had decided to join them because he couldn't stand watching people die while doing nothing. Then Dai and Nita also declared that they would join. Yamato was pleased with their decision and presented them with their first mission, a rescue operation for a girl named Fumi, a scientist working for the organization JIPS, responsible for the summoning phones and other critical systems. Fumi had suddenly disappeared on an ordinary day. At the same time, some demons began appearing. Since the organization desperately needed her in this critical phase, the hero's mission now was to find and rescue her. The next day, the heroes boarded a secret underground train used exclusively by members of JIPS. Hib sat deep in thought, telling himself that this power was a great responsibility. At first, he never wanted it, but if it gave him the ability to protect the people he loved, then he was willing to bear it. He then turned to Nita and Dai and told them he would protect them no matter what. Because they were his closest friends, they both felt shy hearing that. At that moment, the train arrived and they all stepped off together. The organization members were waiting for them and welcomed them. Suddenly, a woman named Kaji appeared, accompanied by her assistant Akui, who seemed arrogant and somewhat irritating. Kaji took them to the scientist's laboratory and told them that multiple teams had searched for her, but without success. When they arrived, they discovered that the lab had not been touched since the scientist's disappearance. The heroes began searching for any clue that might reveal her whereabouts. Meanwhile, Akui was out fighting demons and eliminating them, but he suddenly noticed something strange flying in the sky, something he couldn't identify. Elsewhere, Yamato was speaking with a mysterious person who told him that things were starting to become more interesting. The scene then shifted to the JIPS headquarters in Osaka, where the heroes were present. Suddenly, alarms blared, and the staff began losing control of the system. It seemed that someone was attempting to hack it. The branch director ordered the security system to be activated immediately, but they failed. They tried to locate the hacker, and at that moment, the heroes arrived and learned what was happening. Hib asked the director whether demons were behind this, but the director responded harshly, telling him not to interfere and to go home. Dai suggested cutting the power, but the director refused, explaining that it would disable the city's defensive barriers, allowing demons and monsters to enter easily. Amid the chaos, Hib realized that someone was helping the demons. This incident couldn't have happened so suddenly, and demons couldn't hack such a system on their own. Suddenly, the hacker's location appeared on the screens, but shockingly, it showed up all across Japan. No one understood what was happening, and they assumed it was a set of false signals. At that moment, a notification from the cursed app appeared on Kaji's phone, revealing the next person destined to die. The shock was overwhelming. The victim was Akui. Kaji lost her composure and became extremely tense. But Hib calmed her down and told her to focus so they could locate the incident before it happened. After regaining her focus, she said the location was the festival gate. Hib asked one of the staff members to check the devices near the festival gate. It turned out there was only one device in that area. It was likely the real source of the hack, while the rest were just decoys. Yamato had been monitoring everything. He appeared on the screen and ordered Hib to head there immediately and stop the hacker. At the same time, Akui was wandering, searching for demons. As he walked, he received a call from headquarters, but before he could answer, a monster appeared behind him and attacked. He narrowly dodged the strike, only for another monster to appear and attack him as well. Akui summoned his demon, which struck the first monster and cut its body apart, then turned to the second and killed it. But it didn't end there. Monsters began appearing everywhere, their numbers increasing rapidly, as if a gate were summoning them. Akui's demon tried to eliminate them, but they were too many. Suddenly, a monster struck Akui, sending him flying into the air. He was about to crash into a metal pole and die exactly as shown in the video. At the last moment, Kaji appeared and saved him using her own creature. Then another monster nearly attacked him, but Bayako appeared just in time and cut it down. They all hid afterward, letting the monsters fight each other while they searched for the phones responsible for summoning them. Dai told them not to worry and said he would handle it. He tried activating his demons, but the ones that appeared were tiny and weak, and the others mocked him. However, the mood shifted instantly when news arrived from Yamato. All the other summoners had been killed. Hib was shocked, but the director told him to focus. The hacker was only 50 meters away. The shock had shaken him deeply, but Nita told him they had to capture the hacker, so the sacrifices of the fallen wouldn't be in vain. Hib regained his determination and said he would fight the monsters alongside Kaji, while Nita, Dai, and Akui would search for the phone that was opening the demon gate. They all moved to execute the plan. Hib and Kaji attacked the monsters fiercely, while Nita and Dai rushed to find the device, with Akui protecting them. Then headquarters received alarming news. 50% of the barrier had been destroyed. The heroes continued fighting, but the monsters kept coming, and each of them began reaching their limits. At that moment, Yamato ordered the activation of the Mandal technology. Sako objected, saying it was still incomplete and could be dangerous, but Yamato insisted, ordering her to activate it regardless of the consequences. Sako activated the system, and the monsters were heavily affected. Their colors began to change. Nita and Dai reached the hacker's location. Nita summoned her creature, but it crashed into a wall and was destroyed. Suddenly, another monster grabbed Nita, then released her, but Akui intervened at the last second, saving her with his demon. Kaji also arrived and looked at the hacker, and the shock was overwhelming. The hacker was the scientist herself. No one understood what was happening, but Hib didn't hesitate. He attacked with lightning magic, but the monster blocked it. Kaji attacked as well, but her strike was deflected, and her creature was destroyed. Dai, trembling with fear, hid behind a wall. Hib called him and told him to destroy the control devices quickly. The city's protective barrier had only 1% remaining. Dai agreed. At that moment, Bayako launched a fast attack on the monster, but it was blocked. However, it was only a distraction. Akui's demon struck fiercely from another angle and managed to injure the monster's arm, causing it to disappear. At the same moment, Dai destroyed the system devices, finally stopping the hack. Everyone felt relieved, and Akui sent his demon to capture the scientist. But suddenly, without warning, the monster reappeared and attacked the demon violently. It declared that humans were foolish, then detonated the entire area. At the last moment, Akui pushed Hib away from the explosion and took the full impact himself. The monster took advantage of the chaos and forced the scientists to continue hacking the system, then disappeared from the scene. The scientist lost consciousness shortly after. The headquarters fell into complete disarray. The system had been destroyed, and no one knew what to do. The scene returned to the heroes. Everyone was safe except Akui, who was no longer moving. It seemed he had died. Kaji screamed at the top of her lungs. He was her assistant and her closest friend. Hib was filled with rage, but what had happened could not be undone. Elsewhere, reports arrived confirming that one of the 6 strongest monsters had already appeared. The heroes struggled to comprehend what was happening. Hib blamed himself, saying it was his fault for losing focus and letting his guard down. But Kaji told him not to think that way, it was fate, and no one could change what was destined. Suddenly, members of the organization arrived and took the heroes away. One of the 6 monsters had appeared. It was enormous and advancing toward the city. Tanks fired missiles at it, but the creature became enraged, releasing parts of its body that attached to the tanks before exploding. The mysterious man appeared beside the monster and declared that humanity had no chance of survival. The news reached Yamato, who immediately ordered the monster to be stopped. If it reached the eastern side of the city, it would destroy the main barrier, meaning the city and its people would be doomed. Dai was frustrated that he wouldn't be joining the fight. A soldier told him that only Hib would fight due to his high power level, while Dai needed to stay and assist the medical team. At the same time, Kaji was with Nita when a soldier approached and asked Kaji to join the battle. She agreed. Nita tried to go as well, but the soldier told her her power was too weak. Hib stood atop a building. The commander told him he was the last line of defense and that he had to be strong, not weak. Sako tried to calm the commander, reminding him that Hib had only been an ordinary student the day before and hadn't yet adjusted. But the commander kept pressuring him, asking if he would fight or not. At that moment, Hib made his decision. He would continue fighting and protect those who couldn't protect themselves. On the battlefield, soldiers attempted to stop the monster with their demons, but their attacks had no effect. The monster fired a devastating beam that wiped them all out, then unleashed a magical assault that destroyed everything around it. A protective shield surrounded a tower where some soldiers stood, sparing those inside, but the medical team and most of the soldiers were killed, leaving only a few survivors. Dai called Hib, urging him to run. He told him that everyone was dying and they would die too if things continued like this, but Yamato cut the connection between them. Hib declared that he would face the monster alone, no matter what. Sako tried to stop him, but he ended the call, summoned Bayako, and charged into battle. Elsewhere, Kaji was attacking the monster with her squad, but to no effect. None of their attacks worked. The monster was about to strike her when Hib arrived at the last moment and saved her. She asked why he came. He was supposed to be the last line of defense. He replied that he couldn't stand still while people were dying before his eyes. He attacked with Bayako, unleashing maximum lightning magic, but it had no effect. Bayako leapt across buildings and struck the monster, managing to wound it, but he was severely injured and could no longer move. The monster seized the opportunity and attacked Hib, but demons protected him. Another attack nearly struck him, but Kaji jumped in and took the hit instead. When Hib opened his eyes, he was horrified, bodies everywhere, destruction beyond words. He looked at Kaji lying on the ground. He tried to speak to her, but she didn't respond. She was dead. Hib's voice caught in his throat, overwhelmed by shock, rage, and despair. Suddenly, the mysterious man appeared again. He introduced himself as Core, saying he was a friend of Yamato. He told Hib that Nita was now fighting in his place. Hib was furious, but Core said everything happening was the result of Hib's own choices. He had chosen to leave his post. Hib's power surged with anger, and he swore he wouldn't let Nita die. Then he rushed off. Elsewhere, Nita stood atop the tower, telling herself she wouldn't stay afraid. She had to help Hib. At that moment, new emotions awakened within her, and she summoned an incredibly powerful demon. To everyone's shock, she had summoned one of the 4 great demons, Harem. Nita attacked using Harem, but her strikes had no effect. Blow after blow, nothing. Then the monster struck Harem, knocking her down. The monster then created a massive tornado and prepared to fire a beam that would destroy Nita and everything around her, but suddenly, Hib appeared and stopped it. Hib activated Bayako's ultimate power and attacked with overwhelming force. Piercing through the monster's body, he struck again, shattering its energy core. The monster finally disappeared. It seemed defeated. Everyone rejoiced, believing the battle was over, but the monster attempted one final attack. At that moment, a man named Ronald appeared and sliced the monster apart before it could act. Ronald said he hated Yamato and the organization Gyps, then told Hib to come with him. Hib agreed and went with him. Later, Gyps' forces arrived at the scene, but Hib was gone. After that, the organization sent Nita and Dai to search for him. They hid inside boxes, which looked somewhat comical. Suddenly, they received a notification from the app. A new death had been predicted. They opened the video and were shocked. This time, the victim was Hib. Nita told Dai they had to do whatever it took to save him. The scene then shifted to Yamato, who had received all the reports. He tried to contact Nita and Dai, but the signal was cut off. Sako told him that this was enough. They had pushed Hib too far. After all, he was still just a student. But Yamato replied coldly, "There is no difference between a student and a warrior. Both must fight. Anyone who cannot fight is useless." He then ordered them to contact Fumi to check whether she had managed to restore the network. They reached her, and she said she was trying, but it was difficult. She then asked Sako to get some rest, since she was exhausted and hadn't slept for days. Yamato agreed and told Sako to go rest, but she was also worried about him. He told her he couldn't sleep now. There were still 5 enemies left, and what was coming would be far worse. After that, he went to the scientists' headquarters and asked whether the invention was ready. They told him it was ready, but hadn't been tested yet. He told them not to worry, and the day came to an end. The next day, 2 new characters appeared, a girl named Iri and a young man named John, both demon hunters. Iri had been asleep, and when she woke up, she said they needed to go help Gyps. John told her to eat breakfast first, then admitted that he didn't feel comfortable about Gyps and believed it was hiding many secrets. He also said he didn't want humans fighting each other, but she told him not to overthink it. Elsewhere, Nita and Dai were heading toward the rebels' headquarters. When they arrived, they met a man who offered them food and juice, then went off to distribute food to the other children. They were surprised. They had thought the rebels opposing Gyps were evil. But suddenly, demons emerged from the forest, and people began to flee. Dai immediately summoned his 2 demons, but the moment they saw the monsters, they ran away. Dai was shocked, while Nita summoned her creature, defeated the monsters, and saved the people. However, when the people realized they were from Gyps, they surrounded them. Suddenly, more monsters appeared, but a powerful flame wiped them out instantly. Hib appeared. It was his attack, and beside him stood a giant bird-like creature. Nita and Dai tried to speak to him, but he left. They asked the man where he went, and he told them he probably went to see the leader. Nita immediately asked him to take them there. Meanwhile, Hib had arrived at the Gyps headquarters, which was now under the control of the rebels led by Ronald. Ronald explained that no one was entirely wrong, not the rebels, nor the Gyps soldiers. They were all simply following orders. The real fault, he said, lay with Yamato. A nurse objected, saying that although Yamato was calm, he wasn't a bad person. But Ronald replied that the truth was different. Yamato wanted to eliminate the monsters and then create a new world ruled by himself, using everyone around him to achieve that goal. He explained that he had once been a detective before joining Gyps, but he had discovered dangerous secrets about Yamato, and because of those secrets, Yamato had tried to kill him. Ronald said that saving the world wasn't the issue, but Yamato's methods would lead to the deaths of many innocents, just like in the last battle, where dozens, no, hundreds had died without him caring. He then emphasized that all humans are equal, whether strong or weak. Elsewhere, Iri and John were opening an underground path to reach the rebels. Back to Hib, Ronald took him to the control room and told him that statistics indicated the 5th demon would appear in this city. Therefore, they needed to focus and prepare to confront it. He explained that 4 people would lead the battle: Hib, Ronald, a man named Joey, and another girl from Gyps who had decided to help them. Ronald outlined the plan. They would fight the demon together, each protecting the other. The strong would not abandon the weak, and no one would be left behind. On the other side, Yamato was remembering his past. As a child, he did nothing but study. He was not like other children. He was different. One day, he discovered that he was a summoner. When he attempted his first summoning, he summoned one of the strongest demons, even though he was still a child. His father immediately ordered the guards to capture him, calling him a monster. In that moment, Yamato unleashed his firepower and killed everyone present. From that day on, he lived alone until Kor appeared, spoke with him, and eventually became his friend. Back in the present, Core suddenly appeared behind Yamato and told him that the probabilities were about to change. Yamato didn't believe him, but at that very moment, a notification appeared on his phone, revealing the next person destined to die. The message read, "Your friend, Hib." Yamato froze in shock for two reasons. First, Hib was going to die, and second, the app had described him as his friend. At the same time, Dai and Nita were on their way to Hib. Meanwhile, Hib arrived with Ronald at the location where the demon was expected to appear. One of the girls objected to their strategy. They were relying on the summoning app, even though no one knew its true origin, but Ronald told her they had no other choice. They then returned to headquarters. Suddenly, Joey said that someone wanted to see Hib. It was Dai. The moment he entered, he rushed toward Hib, hugged him tightly, and said he had missed him so much. Nita was also overjoyed to see him. Nita told Hib that the app had released a new video showing the next person to die, and it was him. Hib grew concerned and asked if the organization knew anything, but they assured him they hadn't told anyone. Dai urged Hib to leave with them immediately, but he refused. The fifth demon was going to appear in this area. Dai became angry, telling him that staying meant certain death, and that he was his closest friend. He couldn't live without him. Although Hib was deeply moved, he stood by his decision. Dai then said he would stay and protect him, and Nita said she would do the same. Hib tried to refuse, but Dai told him they wouldn't stand by and watch him die. Hib was touched by their support. He thanked them, and soon the three of them began joking together, bringing back a sense of warmth and reassurance between them. On the other side, Ronald's followers were repairing the damage in the area when something suddenly crashed to the ground. When they went to check, they discovered it was John and Eri. One of the men tried to attack John, but John knocked him down with a single blow. Without a word, the soldiers summoned their demons, so John and Eri did the same. Their demons took the form of small cats, but despite their size, they attacked the monsters and tore them apart with astonishing strength. At that moment, Ronald and Joey arrived and told everyone to stop. Ronald tried to explain that Gyps was in the wrong, but Eri didn't listen and attacked him immediately. Ronald blocked all her strikes using his creature. Hib was watching what was happening, so he spoke through the microphone and told them to stop. The fifth demon was about to appear, and they had no time to fight each other. Suddenly, the ground shook violently. One of the researchers announced over the microphone that the demon was opening its gate, and the shock was that the gate was opening inside the headquarters itself. Before anyone could react, the gate opened and the demon appeared in a strange form. Hib rushed toward it immediately, while Ronald attacked, but his strike had no effect. Eri launched consecutive attacks from the front and side, but they caused no damage. Instead, they only enraged the demon. It steadied itself and fired a devastating magical beam that destroyed nearly everything. The heroes barely survived at the last moment, but the power went out completely. Ronald warned them that if the demon fired that attack again, the entire base and possibly the city would be destroyed. At that moment, Hib arrived, summoned his fire beast, and attacked the demon with full force. Nita joined him, and together they began to affect it, but her energy quickly started running out. Another girl stepped in to help, using a creature that could drain the enemy's power. The demon began to weaken, but at the last moment, it split into parts and unleashed its destructive beam again. The beam struck Hib's fire beast and hit Nita as well, then burst out of the headquarters and destroyed part of the city. When Dai saw the beam, he was shocked. It was the same beam from the video where Hib dies. He tried to stop him, but Hib charged at full speed toward the demon and attempted to summon his creature. But the demon targeted Hib's hand and injured it to prevent him from summoning. It then moved in to kill him, just as shown in the video. At the last moment, a massive creature descended and split the demon in half. It was Yamato's beast, arriving in a grand and overwhelming scene. He then finished the fight with a final attack that completely destroyed the demon. Suddenly, a broadcast from Fumi appeared, announcing that control of the headquarters had been restored. Hib was furious and confronted Yamato. "If you have this much power, why did you let people die? Why did you just stand there?" Yamato replied that protecting the world requires tools. Hib grew even angrier when he referred to people as tools. Yamato said coldly, "Yes, tools, and you are an exceptional one. Hib, that's why you will come with me to save the world." At that moment, Ronald warned Hib not to believe him. He said that Yamato might indeed save the world, but he would trample the weak and wouldn't care whether they lived or died, all for the sake of ruling the world. Yamato admitted that the weak would inevitably die because they are weak and acknowledged that he intended to rule, believing that the strong should govern the weak. But his philosophy was flawed. If the strong rule the weak, they should protect them and help them grow stronger, not exploit them or treat them as mere tools. At that moment, the rebels arrived and pointed their weapons at Yamato. Hib summoned his creature and declared that he would not allow him to harm people. Suddenly, Kor appeared and told Hib not to misunderstand. Yamato hadn't come for power or battle. He had come because he saw the video of Hib dying. Hib was shocked. Yamato then told him, "Don't misunderstand. To me, you are just a weapon." But Kor intervened, saying, "The truth is, if you hadn't come here, Hib would already be dead." Yamato was clearly irritated by this. Kor then turned to Hib and said, "You must choose now, either stand with Yamato or stay here." Hib thought for a moment and said he only wanted to use his power to do good. Ronald tried to stop him, but Kor interrupted, telling him not to interfere. He then summoned his creature and ordered it to attack with fire. Eri tried to intervene, but he attacked her as well until John saved her at the last moment. Kor scolded his creature. "This is the second time I've told you to stop." The creature immediately became frightened and apologized. Meanwhile, Nita noticed something strange. Kor wasn't holding a phone to summon from, yet his demon was already present. Suddenly, soldiers arrived, summoned their creatures, and attacked Kor, but he eliminated them within seconds. Then he said, "You attack me, even though I'm the one who gave you the app you used to summon your monsters." Everyone was shocked. Kor explained that he pitied humans because they were weak, so he created the app to help them. He then asked Hib again, "Will you stay here or go with Yamato?" At that moment, Yamato intervened and told them that the demon appearing the next day would have the ability to attack 3 locations at once. Fumi appeared in a live broadcast and explained the details, stating that only creatures at the level of Byakko or higher would be capable of confronting it. At that moment, Hib made his decision clear. He would not allow anyone to control him, and he would use his power only to protect people. Yamato responded calmly, "Fine. Fight the monster that will appear in the first city, and I will handle defending the other 2. But Hib added that after defeating these monsters, he would confront anyone who tried to harm people or control them unjustly. Yamato laughed and left. Before departing, he ordered Ronald to take command of the branch, since his earlier actions had left the area defenseless. If the monster was not defeated the next day, the city would be completely destroyed. After Yamato left, Hib remained deep in thought. Had Yamato really come because he considered him a friend and wanted to save him? He couldn't tell. Elsewhere, the main headquarters was testing the scientists' new invention, a device capable of transporting people from one place to another within seconds. The scientist tested it herself, and it worked perfectly. The day finally ended. The next day, the soldiers underwent medical examinations to ensure they were in good condition, and Hib was among them. During this, he thanked Dai for his support, telling him that he was his closest friend and that he was truly happy when he came to him. Dai felt embarrassed and simply replied that it was nothing. At the same time, Nita was with a doctor. The doctor told her that what she was doing for Hib wasn't strange. When someone loves another person, they would do anything for them. Nita initially agreed, but when she realized the meaning of those words, her face quickly turned red and she denied it in embarrassment. The doctor laughed and told her there was no need to hide her feelings. Elsewhere, Yamato was meeting with Japan's leaders, but each of them seemed preoccupied with their own concerns, which angered him. He saw them as useless. Back at headquarters, Sako contacted everyone and informed them that the demon would appear in 3 different locations in the sea, and that defeating it would require destroying its 3 parts simultaneously. Hib and his team would protect Osaka, Yamato would defend Tokyo, and Ronald would lead the defense of the 3rd city. After that, Hib used the new device and transported with his team to Osaka, but they froze in shock when they saw Kaji standing before them. She was alive. Hib broke down in tears, saying he thought she had died. She smiled and reassured him. "Don't worry, I'm right here. I'm still alive." The heroes began preparing. At the same time, the monster appeared before Yamato and also before Ronald's team. Everyone charged at it with full force, but despite the intensity of their attacks, they barely made any impact. Back to Hib and his team, the monster appeared before them as well. Dai tried to summon his demon, but the moment he saw the monster, it fled immediately, shocking him. Kaji stepped in to help. She summoned her creature and attacked at incredible speed, managing to wound the demon and reveal part of its body. Hib seized the opportunity, summoned by Akko, and launched a swift attack that destroyed the purple part of the demon's body, causing that section to disappear. They thought they had defeated it, but the demon regenerated and attacked again. They barely managed to dodge. On the other side, Yamato was gaining some control over the battle. He contacted the heroes and explained that the only way to defeat the demon was to destroy its purple core, which acted as its heart. Since it had 3 hearts, all of them had to be destroyed at the same time to prevent regeneration. He confirmed that he would coordinate with them to strike simultaneously. Back to Hib's team, they were trying to stop the demon before it reached the tower and destroyed it. Suddenly, Hib received a notification from the app. When he opened it, he was shocked. The victim this time was Ronald and his team. Hib immediately contacted Ronald and told him what was happening. Ronald thanked him and reassured him that he would be careful, then instructed his team to stay alert. He didn't want to lose any of them. They set a trap for the monster. At that moment, Eri drifted into her memories, wondering how her life had gone from peaceful days with her father to this terrifying reality. Meanwhile, Ronald activated the trap. The ground collapsed beneath the monster, trapping it. Everyone attacked, but their strikes were superficial. Then Eri arrived, gathered her courage, summoned a new creature, and struck the demon with a powerful blow that injured it severely. At the same moment, Kaji attacked and destroyed 1 heart. Yamato destroyed another, and Hib attacked the third. In perfect synchronization, the 3 hearts were destroyed, and the demon finally collapsed. But before dying, the demon launched a missile-like attack toward Ronald's team, as if refusing to fall alone. Eri opened her eyes to find that John had taken the hit in her place. She asked him about the others, but he didn't respond. Eri broke down, crying and screaming in pain, a heartbreaking moment that reflected the cruelty of their situation, as their lives had suddenly shifted from normalcy to deadly battles. Hib tried to contact Ronald, but couldn't reach him. Meanwhile, Yamato had taken the scientist to retrieve a secret weapon belonging to his family. As for Hib, he stood lost in thought, weighed down by everything, when suddenly Kor appeared beside him. Hib angrily asked why he wasn't helping despite his power. Kor replied that he couldn't interfere. This was a battle meant for humans. If they couldn't win it, then they had no value. That was the judgment of the ruler of the world, Polas. Kor explained that he served Polas, even though he didn't agree with the destruction and felt sorrow for humanity. That was why he created the summoning app, to give humans a chance to prove their will to survive. Hib was shocked. Kor continued, saying he couldn't directly rebel against Polas, but he could help humans indirectly. He then revealed that Polas had already begun executing his judgment and that humans needed to defeat the demons quickly, because the world was already starting to collapse into the void. Suddenly, a strange darkness began to spread around them. Kor explained that this void meant the disappearance of everything, no time, no humans, no emotions, nothing at all. There was clear sorrow in his voice. He said that even though he wasn't human, he loved this world, had lived in it for a long time, and didn't want to lose it. Hib stood there in shock, unable to process what he had just heard or make any decision. Suddenly, Kor disappeared, leaving him in deep confusion. And so, that day came to an end. The next day, Hib woke up to find Kor standing right in front of him. He was startled at first, then asked if they could talk. Kor agreed, and Hib asked him about his relationship with Yamato. Kor explained that they had been friends in the past, and that Yamato had been gifted since birth, but later made decisions that, from his own perspective, seemed right. Hib didn't like that answer. He grew angry and said that abandoning the weak could never be right. Kor replied calmly, "You are the one who has the freedom to choose." Hib felt a bit relieved. The two of them sat down, talking and drinking coffee in a quiet atmosphere. However, Kor seemed troubled as he couldn't directly help humans. Hib told him that didn't matter. What mattered was that he cared about them. which made him their friend, one of them. Core was deeply moved by those words. He felt happy, yet embarrassed, and thanked Hib. At that moment, Dai and Nita entered. The moment they saw Core, they were shocked. Dai froze awkwardly, while Nita screamed loudly. Hib calmed them down and explained that Core wasn't an enemy. He might not be human, but he wasn't their opponent. They gradually accepted it, and soon everyone began talking and joking, creating a warm and harmonious atmosphere. Elsewhere, Iri and Kaji were summoned. When they arrived, Sako informed them that the fifth demon, the second to last, was about to appear, and that the organization specifically needed them for this mission, as analysis of the previous battles showed they were the most suitable. They immediately set out. Meanwhile, Hib arrived at headquarters and objected to staying behind without participating. But Sako explained that even if they went, they wouldn't be able to do anything. Their creatures wouldn't affect this demon. At the demon's location, the shock was that it did not appear on Earth. It appeared in space. Iri and Kaji prepared to activate their powers, but suddenly the demon's energy surged, and it nearly attacked them. At the critical moment, Iri activated her creature's ability and fired a flaming arrow that struck the demon's core directly, causing it to disappear from space. The soldiers at headquarters began celebrating, but Sako wasn't convinced. Powerful demons don't fall so easily. And indeed, just as Iri was about to leave, fragments of the demon's body appeared above the city. It had been destroyed, but its remains were still there. If they reached the ground, they would cause massive destruction. The fragments began falling. Jip's soldiers fled quickly, but the pieces crashed into the ground, causing catastrophic damage so intense that even the headquarters where Hib stood began to shake. Thus, the fifth demon was defeated, but at a devastating cost. Every resident of the city was killed. Hib was furious and confronted Yamato, saying he knew this would happen. Yamato replied, "Did you have another solution?" Hib had no answer. The truth was, humanity had no other option. There was nowhere to run. Only the sixth and final demon remained. If it wasn't defeated, everything would end. At that time, Hib reviewed a storage device that Ronald had given him before his death, containing the results of his investigations. As he read it, he realized that Yamato's family had known about these events for hundreds of years, yet had hidden the truth. Even so, Hib understood that he had to focus now on the final battle. Later, everyone gathered to eat, perhaps for the last time together. Iri was angry and refused to eat, shaken by what had happened. Yamato told her that the people were already dead, and thinking about it wouldn't change anything. Hib became angry at his words, saying not everyone could be as coldly realistic as him. Yamato replied that they should then follow his orders. He explained that if they managed to defeat the final demon, humanity would be able to meet Polas, and they would need to convince him to change the entire system of the world. He added that this was the reason Ronald had opposed him. Hib asked whether he was following his family's plans. Yamato replied that he followed no one, that he lived by his own will, and that his goal was to create a new world ruled by the talented. He then warned them that the coming days would be extremely harsh, told them to prepare, and left. Hib followed him into the elevator and said he couldn't accept a future without emotions. Yamato called him naive. Hib replied that humanity should live as a whole, not just a chosen few. Yamato smiled and said, "Stay by my side until the last moment of my life. If one day I admit that I was wrong, then kill me, or do whatever you want." Hib agreed. They parted ways, and the day ended with the final confrontation drawing near. Later, Sako went to Nita's room and told her the truth. They were going to sacrifice her the next day, because, in reality, tomorrow held no chance of survival. Nita was shocked. Sako confirmed it, this was the reality, then left her alone to process it. The moment she left, Nita broke down in tears and cried until she fell asleep. The next day, Core had prepared breakfast for them. The atmosphere was calm and gentle. They enjoyed the meal, but Nita's anxiety was obvious. Despite her attempts to hide it, Core noticed something was wrong, so he went to Yamato and told him that Nita wouldn't be able to withstand the enemy. Yamato asked, surprised, "Since when do you care this this much about humans, especially ordinary ones. Core himself seemed surprised. He admitted he hadn't expected to feel this way. Yamato told him that if he didn't want to suffer more, he should suppress his emotions. Core smiled and replied, "Like you do." Then he walked away. Back to Nita, she sat there, sad and anxious, until Jip's soldiers arrived and took her. It was time for the sacrifice. After that, the rest of the group headed to headquarters, preparing for the appearance of the sixth and final demon. Hib noticed that Nita was missing, and at that moment, Sako informed them that the sixth demon's power was absolute replication. It could clone itself endlessly. Everyone was shocked. Then Yamato appeared via broadcast to reveal his plan. The scientist also appeared, explaining that Nita's pulse and vital signs were stable while she was restrained inside a strange machine. When Hib saw this, he was furious. He shouted that they were insane and demanded to know if they were really going to sacrifice her. Sako confirmed it. His anger intensified. He called out to Nita, telling her to get out of that machine, but she couldn't hear him. He screamed at Yamato to release her immediately, insisting that he would fight and defeat the demon himself. But Yamato replied that this was the only option. The sixth demon could endlessly replicate itself, and no matter how strong humans were, they had limits. Once they reached their peak, they would be destroyed. Before the argument could continue, the scientists announced that the demon had appeared. And indeed, it did. Its form was strange, spreading at an incredible speed. At the same time, the scientist announced the start of the operation. Nita was sealed inside the device. A strange magic was activated, and she began to rise into the air. It became clear they weren't going to kill her directly. Instead, they would use her to temporarily control one of the most powerful demons. Meanwhile, the heroes received a new video from the app. Dai opened it, but couldn't bear what he saw. He dropped the phone in shock. This time, Nita was the one who would die, and her death was horrifying. Hib couldn't take it. He immediately rushed toward her. Nita writhed in pain as the scientists announced there were only 160 seconds left before her mind collapsed. Yamato activated the new device and began controlling her remotely. Nita's voice disappeared. It was as if someone else had taken over her body. She charged toward the demon and activated summoning fire through her. A space dragon was summoned. The dragon shot forward at immense speed, devouring the demon's body completely before crashing into the ground. The scientists declared the demon eliminated. But then, the control rate over Nita dropped to 0. The demon had fully taken over her. Kaji collapsed when she heard this. Dai rushed toward her in panic. Even Yamato looked unsettled. He muttered that Nita had been stronger than he expected, and that she had completed the mission. Hib reached Nita and tried to approach her, but she attacked him with fire magic. Yamato told him, "That's no longer Nita. She has become one of the strongest demons. You must kill her now." Hib was stunned, unable to accept it. He screamed in anger and pain. The demon, meanwhile, was furious for being awakened from its slumber. Yamato communicated with it telepathically, telling it not to resist. The girl's body would only last a few minutes, and it was doomed anyway. But the demon replied that those few minutes would be enough, then charged toward them. At that moment, Dai climbed up to Yamato and shouted at him. "How could you do this to an innocent girl, just because she's weak and couldn't refuse?" He attacked Yamato, but Yamato blocked the strike effortlessly and nearly threw him off the edge. Dai shouted, "Go ahead and drop me. Nothing matters anymore. What you did is unforgivable. You used a weak girl and forced her into something she feared even in her dreams." But then the alert came. The demon was approaching. Yamato let Dai go. The soldiers prepared themselves. As soon as the demon appeared, they all attacked, but none of their strikes had any effect. It wiped them out with a single attack, then created a massive fire sphere and launched it toward headquarters. At the last moment, Hib arrived and blocked the attack. He demanded that the demon give Nita back. The demon replied, "Impossible. Her soul has already returned to the void. Her body will collapse within minutes. And for what you've done, I will destroy this world as well." It launched another fire attack. Bayako blocked it and took heavy damage. Hib fell from the bridge, nearly dying, but at the last moment, Yamato caught his hand. Yamato summoned his demon and ordered it to kill Nita. But Hib summoned his fire beast and attacked Yamato's demon, then let go of his hand, leapt onto Bayako, and launched a fierce assault, destroying Yamato's creature. Yamato grew angry and said, "That is no longer Nita. "Stop this naive thinking." But Hib replied, "She's still Nita, and I won't let anyone hurt her. I promised I would protect her." At that moment, the demon fired a blazing beam at Yamato, but Hib pushed him aside and took the attack himself. Even so, he remained standing. Reports came in. Hib's power was rising in a strange and abnormal way. Yamato tried to help him, telling him to take his power, but Hib pushed him away with magic and said, "Didn't I tell you? I'll protect all of you." He rose into the air and called out to Nita, "I know you're still there. I haven't forgotten my promise to protect you." For a brief moment, Nita regained consciousness, but the demon seized control again and hurled another fire attack at Hib. Suddenly, the two of them appeared alone in a strange, empty space. Hib spoke to her desperately. "I don't want to lose you. My life became better when you came into it. Don't give in to death." Nita replied through tears, "This is the only way. I have to save everyone. I'm weak. I can't help anyone." Hib shouted, "Strength and weakness don't define a person's worth. We're all weak in our own way, but we support each other and overcome that weakness together." She told him, "You don't need anyone. You're strong on your own." He shouted back, "No, I need you. I can't live without you." Nita was stunned by his words. He reached out his hand and asked her to take it. She hesitated for a moment, then reached out. He pulled her free from the demon's barrier and embraced her. Through tears, she said, "I want to live with you." He replied firmly, "Don't worry, we'll live together." After some time, Hib fell into a coma. While Nita returned to her normal self, everyone was worried about him, especially Nita, who couldn't shake the feeling that everything that had happened was her fault. Eri came to her and told her not to blame herself. None of it was her responsibility, and if Hib were awake, he would be deeply saddened to see her like this. John added that Hib would wake up because he was still alive and he would keep fighting until the very end. The scene shifted to Kor, who was also saddened by Hib's condition. Suddenly, two demons appeared before him. One of them said, "How long will you remain like this? We are here to judge humanity and destroy them." Kor remained silent. The demon grew angry and summoned his weapon to attack, but Kor merely moved a finger, and the demon was erased from existence entirely. He then turned to the second demon and asked if he had any objections. Terrified, the demon said he agreed with him and then disappeared. And so, that day ended. The next day, the heroes prepared for the final battle. They decided to end everything before Hib woke up. He had already carried more than enough burden. Dai and Eri tried to find stronger creatures, but failed, so they decided to fight with what they had. Soon, Nita and John arrived, and everyone prepared for the final confrontation. They promised to remain friends and stand together until the end. But suddenly, they received a new notification from the app. When they opened it, they were horrified. The video showed all of them dying. At that exact moment, alarms sounded, announcing the arrival of Demon Zero, the final demon. At the same time, the world's collapse into the void was accelerating. Headquarters monitored everything. Suddenly, the demon fired a beam that destroyed most of the JIP's facilities. The heroes rushed to the base, where Yamato told them they had to move immediately to confront the demon and that he would go with them. And so, they all set out together. Meanwhile, Hib remained unconscious, reliving his childhood memories. His parents had often left him alone at home. No one cared about him, and he grew withdrawn. He never defended himself when others hurt him until Dai appeared. Dai protected him, stood up for him, and from that moment on, they spent their days together, growing up side by side, remaining close friends even into high school. At that moment, Hib woke up. Back at the battlefield, the demon reached the headquarters and fired a beam that destroyed the entire surface structure. But Yamato protected the underground facility at the last moment. The visible building had only been a facade. The heroes quickly summoned their creatures. While the demon attempted to break Yamato's barrier, they attacked with repeated strikes, and Yamato joined in with his own summons, managing to wound it. They continued attacking relentlessly, strike after strike, until Sako delivered what seemed like the final blow. They thought it was over, but the demon instantly split into two. One part began emitting sound waves that disrupted JIP's systems. The shock was that the waves also affected their phones. The heroes' creatures disappeared. The scientist, who had been monitoring the situation, had anticipated this. She summoned her own demon and released counter-frequencies that disrupted the demon's waves, stopping the interference. But suddenly, Sako received a video from the app. When she opened it, she saw that the next victim would be the scientist. She warned her immediately, but the scientist calmly replied that it no longer mattered. She would face death. The demon attacked her violently and killed her with a beam. Sako was enraged and tried to summon her creature, but couldn't. Her creature, along with the others, was still recovering. The demon attacked again, breaking Yamato's barrier. Still, Yamato didn't give up. He charged forward at full speed, but the demon blocked and countered. Elsewhere, Eri was fleeing from the second part of the demon. It became clear that Demon Zero possessed the abilities of all previous demons. It attacked her with a massive explosive force, but at the last moment, John arrived, grabbed her, and ran. But another demon appeared before them and exploded. Both of them died. Meanwhile, the rest of the group was fleeing from smaller demons. Kaji fell into a pit, surrounded by them. Before they exploded, she said to Dai, "Take care of Nita." Then the explosion happened. Kaji died. Only Nita, Dai, and Sako remained. They ran at full speed as demons chased them. One was about to explode near them, but at the last moment, Hib arrived and saved them using his bird. Hib attacked the demon with Byakko, then asked about the others, but they remained silent. He understood. Rage ignited within him, and he launched a series of relentless attacks. But suddenly, a powerful strike hit Byakko, causing it to vanish. The demon then attacked Yamato, trapping him. He was barely holding on. Hib rushed toward the demon in fury. It attacked him, but he blocked the strike. Then he turned to Yamato and asked, "Why did you abandon your friends?" Yamato replied, "I won't repeat myself. There was no other way. It had to happen. The weak die because they cannot protect themselves." Hib rejected his words. "I don't want a future built on the corpses of my friends." The two continued to resist the demon, Hib blocking with his shield and counterattacking, while Yamato deflected the demon's beam. The demon grew enraged and charged again, launching a crushing attack at Yamato, but Hib intervened at the last moment, and together they blocked it. The pressure was overwhelming. They were on the brink of death. Suddenly, a new creature appeared and struck the demon with tremendous force. It was Dai's creature. Despite their creatures not yet recovering, Dai's will, his desperate desire to help his friend, allowed him to summon a new, incredibly powerful being. It attacked and tore into the demon, but the demon retaliated with a devastating beam. Even so, Dai did not retreat. His resolve burned brighter. He faced the beam head-on and withstood it. At that same moment, Hib unleashed a powerful beam at the demon, while Dai's creature struck it down to the ground. The two of them launched a barrage of attacks. Then Yamato rose above them and declared, "It's over." He delivered a final strike that shattered the demon's core completely. And so, Demon Zero was finally defeated. And humanity was victorious. But at what cost? Only 5 humans remained: Hib, Dai, Nita, Sako, and Yamato. Hib, filled with anger, said to Yamato, "Is this what you call victory? We're standing on the corpses of our friends." Yamato replied that there had been no other choice. Then he added, "If you don't like the way I do things, then kill me or stay out of my way, because I might kill you too." At that moment, Kor appeared and said to Yamato, "I won't allow you to kill Hib." Yamato told Kor that his role was over. The demons had all been defeated. But Kor replied that now, after their defeat, he was free to act as he wished. He attacked Yamato, who dodged and countered, and a fierce battle broke out between them. Kor declared that he would kill Yamato here, to give Hib the chance to choose his own path. He said Hib was the first person who had treated him like a human, who made him feel like a real being. Suddenly, Yamato received a notification from the app. To his shock, both his name and Kor's appeared. They were both destined to die. At the same time, the same video reached the others. Hib shouted that he wouldn't allow either of them to die. But Sako said she would go to save Yamato. He had been everything to her. When her world had been empty, he had given her a reason to live. Then another video appeared. It showed that Sako herself would die. She summoned her creature and told Hib to take care of Yamato. then left. Yamato and Core continued exchanging blows, but Yamato's body could no longer endure the strain. He fought with everything he had, but Core kept deflecting his attacks. Just as Yamato was about to be struck, Sako arrived at the last moment and took the blow in his place. She said softly, "You're the reason I lived. Thank you." Then she died. Yamato was enraged. He summoned the two strongest creatures that Core had placed within the app and attacked with overwhelming force. Core realized that Yamato's path would only lead to darkness, but he couldn't convince him to stop. He told Yamato that he had considered him a friend from the very first moment they met, but he couldn't allow him to kill Hib. Then Core leapt forward and restrained Yamato, intending to sacrifice himself to kill him along with him. They both rose into the sky. Hib tried to stop them, but Core smiled and said his farewell. A massive explosion erupted in the sky. Everyone believed the two of them had died. Hib collapsed, crying, saying he never wanted things to end this way. But suddenly Yamato appeared before him. He had survived. He said the end had come. The ground began to crack, and the world started collapsing. Yamato summoned his creatures and ordered them to attack Hib, then left through a portal. Hib struggled against the monsters and was on the verge of death, but Dai arrived at the last moment and saved him with his creature. Nita summoned hers as well, and they told Hib to go, that they would handle the fight. Hib hesitated, then summoned Byako and left, crying. When he reached the top of the tower and looked back, he saw his friends turning into the void. He tried to save them, but they told him to keep going. He had no choice. They vanished completely into nothingness. Hib reached the portal and activated it, traveling to Polas's world, where Yamato was waiting. Yamato told him he wouldn't let him pass, that whoever won between them would meet Polas. They both summoned their creatures, and the battle began. Hib attacked with all his strength, and Byako clashed with Yamato's beast. Hib said he would never forgive him for killing so many people, but Yamato replied that he had no choice. Otherwise, no one would have survived. Hib rejected a world where the strong ruled the weak. He said his friends hadn't fought to create a cold, emotionless world, but to protect the one they loved. The battle intensified. Hib began to realize that Yamato had lived alone his entire life, carrying everything by himself. He asked him, "If you think I'm weak, why did you save me? And why did you receive a death notification about me? When those only appear for friends?" Yamato froze. Then he began coughing blood. Byako attacked his creature and destroyed it. Yamato seemed to reach his limit, but he resisted and summoned his two strongest creatures, merging them into a single, overwhelming entity. That creature nearly killed Hib, but suddenly, Dai's creature appeared. A notification reached Hib. His friends' creatures had come to him. Each of them had sacrificed their own creature to give him strength. Hib began merging them, one after another, until he created the most powerful demon of all, Rock. Rock attacked Yamato's creature and completely destroyed it. Yamato collapsed, exhausted. Hib held him and said they were sorry for leaving him to carry everything alone. Yamato died. Hib broke down in tears and said goodbye. After that, Hib made a wish to the ruler of the world, Polas, that the world would return to how it was, and that everyone would be given another chance to make things right. Suddenly, everything disappeared. Time reset. The story returned to the beginning, when Hib and Dai met, spent time together, and went out for coffee. Dai told Hib about the death app, just like before, and uploaded his picture. Then they went to the train station. But this time, Hib spoke to Nita and asked her to be their friend. She agreed. Suddenly, Hib began crying from overwhelming happiness, even though he couldn't clearly remember everything. Dai received a notification from the app, but this time it was just a funny video showing Hib getting into a silly car accident. It turned out to be nothing more than a prank app. The train arrived. No destruction happened. Everything had changed. Hib began to remember fragments of everything, every day, every friend, every sacrifice. He ran forward, and we see everyone he knew living peaceful, happy lives. Ronald working as a police detective, and the others living normally. Hib went to where Yamato was. He saw him leaving in his car. Someone asked Yamato if he knew that boy. Yamato replied, "I don't have any friends." But then he smiled at Hib, as if he remembered everything. Hib broke down in tears of joy. Yamato was smiling too. In the end, Core appeared alive and remembering everything. He said that Hib had made the right choice, and thus the story came to an end.